right, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Huddle. We come to you weekly to discuss on how to maintain forward progress in your flooring careers. I'm Paul Stewart, and joining me as always today is Daniel and Jose with Preferred Flooring. What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So today we're going to be discussing image. Title of this episode is Images and Everything, but it's close. So, you know, there's a ton of discrepancy, I believe, in what we talk about when we're talking about image. It's not, we're flooring guys, so it could be, it's not having a dirty shirt or working, like trying to be the best dressed. It's about how you present yourself both professionally and from a aesthetic standpoint. So, a lot of times, in my career, there's been guys that come into, our company to apply for a job or try to become a subcontractor. If I don't know them, image has a huge play in my initial assessment of them, even if they sound like they may know what they're talking about. If they're, wearing a F you to the world t-shirt and,
I hope not.
that kind of matters. So I'm sure you guys have some experiences. So maybe we'll share a few experiences here on what have you guys ran across in both in your ability to gain work because of the way you guys present yourselves, and how do you guys look at guys in jeans that are ripped up to their pants pockets or those types of deals?
So I'll go ahead and start off if you guys don't mind. So when I got into the industry, I'm not gonna lie, man, I was not the most presentable person, right? I was cut off sleeve shirt. I wore the big baggy jeans. I was never really big on like sagging, right? But where I grew up, everyone did it. It really wasn't my style, but so I wore the oversized jeans that were cut off at the bottom with the strings hanging everywhere, holes in them. And coming in, nobody really ever did say anything about what I was wearing. But I did start to notice a trend on my own as far as the companies that we did work for on the commercial end. The more prestigious they were was more visual to me than it was anything else, right? So I started getting on to larger projects. You started seeing people where they were more uniformed, and to me, they just stood out as more professional. Did I catch on right away and start, dressing that part? No, I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't wear my actual first uniform for work until I went and worked for a company under a W-2, and I wore just a simple shirt with a simple logo. And you know what? It made me feel so much better, made me feel more professional. Then I started worrying more about my appearance, because now I'm a crew leader for this company and I'm representing them, and I wanted to make sure that I was representing them in the right manner. So I started, watching how much glue I got on my shirt, on my pants, started watching how many rips I had in my pants, try to make myself more presentable, right? And none of this really resonated until later on after we started Preferred Flooring, and we didn't have our guys uniformed, and there was a specific incident and we were getting blamed for it, and it really did not. It was like something out of the movies, and the guy said something to me that just like right away it hit me, and he said, my phone's going off for some reason. He said, if you're not willing to put your logo on your employees, why would I be willing to let them work in my facility? And as soon as he said that, it was just like fireworks in the brain. Boom, 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 boom. And no matter how much we try to veer away from it, people are very visual, and they're going to judge you by your appearance when they first meet you. They have nothing else to use to judge you. Appearance, it might not be everything, but it's the majority of something. And
first impression wise, it's pretty close, right? I
mean,
it
is pretty close.
You don't know the guy, and they it's the first time you're meeting. I don't know. There's a lot you can judge the way they present themselves and things like that, but also their appearance by itself seems to speak volumes when you first
Yeah.
meet someone. I know it does for me.
Yeah, and it did. And I'm not gonna lie, like within 5 days, I had, the cheapest cotton shirts made for the guys. Everybody still had their own coats and all that because it was wintertime when this happened. But we all looked uniform within a week. And after that happened, you just all of a sudden you just started noticing that the respect that you were getting, your crew was getting, not just you as the leader, but your crew was getting more respect. All of a sudden, everybody's got sleeves on, everybody's matching. Obviously the jeans was a work in progress, but it put us in a position where all of a sudden, like, maybe we can attract the people that we are trying to work for. Maybe we can do that, and we started thinking about different ways that we could improve on our appearance. I don't want to say alter our appearance, right? Because, people can wear their personality in the haircut, bald, dreads, whatever they want, piercings, that part really doesn't bother me at all, right? I know it bothers some, but the appearance as far as the clothing and the aesthetics of that really did help bring to light. It made it so people focused on us as a group instead of just knowing what we did. It gave us a better representation of who we were.
Do you see a difference? I mean, you were talking there that you noticed a difference. Have you continued to notice a difference, how people perceive you, or how a client responds to you because of your crew? For example, I have a customer that we have done a ton of different of their facilities. And when we had a crew on that had all of our shirts on, they were all the neon yellow. They all looked very, much. There's a reason why the military and the police forces and things wear uniforms. And I'm not saying you have to go full on garb uniform, but I'm just saying like a standardized look for installers. And the difference between the way the client perceived how that job went versus other jobs with guys who were sub crews that had different shirts on, and they weren't even offensive shirts. It was just one had a black t-shirt on, and one had a different colored, whatever. It wasn't anything offensive on them. It just, they looked hodgepodge. You know what I mean? There's a definite, in my opinion, if you're a subcontractor, if you're a 1099 installer, putting on a uniform on a daily basis, it could be a simple logo, or it could just be the same colored shirt for you and your helper every single day. I think it goes a long way for perception from the client.
100%. I agree. I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So Daniel, what about you? You've basically grown up in flooring. So, I mean, you guys kind of know that, to me, what we're talking about here, image being important, but you got any personal stories or experiences with either pro or con versus, somebody being in, their appearance, either gaining them work or losing them work?
Well, we do a lot of commercial, right? So appearance is everything, because you go in some of these businesses and they have a dress code, and then you go in there and we've seen guys with, shorts, cut off sleeve shirts, and we're talking, working at colleges and stuff. And it's like, man, there's got to be something that you can do to make it so that people know what you're there for, and at least look presentable. Because I mean, some of these guys, man, they just,
well, a lot of those places, it's a safety thing too. If they don't know you're a part of what the facility has you there for, and you look like a 40-year-old dude at a college walking around the campus.
Right. That's what I mean. It's like some they don't pay any attention to what they look like, and it almost makes it
Now that you say it
they
like
look
that.
like the way some people, picture us looking like, and it
Yeah.
just drags everyone else down. It's like not every flooring guy is out there with cut off sleeve shirts and wearing shorts, and they don't ever do their hair.
Yeah, I'm just gonna flat out say it. I'm sure we're just trying to tiptoe around it, right, without hurting feelings. But if I put myself in the consumer shoes and I'm looking for specific, like if I go to a mechanic shop, I expect them to look like a mechanic, right? But if I go to a mechanic shop and the guy comes in and he's wearing a cut off sleeve Metallica shirt, like he says, shorts, no work safety boots, or I'm probably not going to trust the guy to work on my vehicle. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the bottom line, right? You got to dress the part. I can only imagine what residential guys go through, because I know that there aren't a lot of guidelines for them to follow, and they can pretty much do what they want as well. But from a customer perspective, where I started is irrelevant, right? How I started is irrelevant, because I do look at that, and I know that if I am going to go to ABC company and I'm deterred because of an appearance, has it happened? Yeah, 100%. Might have been the person, might have been the place, but I mean, it's because we're visual, right? You associate professionalism with the appearance of the professional that's presenting themselves to you. And I'm sure we've lost some in the past because of it.
Well, let me build on that just a second. This is something that you have complete control of every single morning. What shirt you put on, what jeans you put on. And so for you to make the decision to wear certain things, that I think is part of why your dress code or how you dress is something that's important to people. When they see you in their business, they know you chose to put that stuff on. You chose to present yourself that way. I'm just trying to implore people, like, give a darn about how you're presenting yourself to the world, both overall, but particularly in our industry, when we have such a black cloud of this assumption of how we are, like, rise above that. Put on jeans that either have been patched correctly. We all know we go through jeans like,
Right. So
like
I was actually in the field today, right? So my shirt is all super dusty and stuff, but my pants are on the front are dirty because I'm constantly wiping myself off. But I mean, we got logos everywhere. You got to be proud of who you work for, right?
Yeah, and your jeans and the dirtiness you expect. We're in construction, but you don't have to have, like you said, cut off sleeves and excessive holes in your jeans or those kinds of things. I mean, customers care, man. They do. I know this seems like a pretty small item to be talking about on this huddle, but I've just watched guys lose business over it, and I've watched them, struggle sometimes financially from not properly presenting themselves. I mean, think about this. Businesses spend millions of dollars a year on marketing and branding themselves, trying to make themselves look as appealing to the consumer as possible. Shouldn't you do the same in as much control as you have? You don't need to spend a bunch of money. A t-shirt's a t-shirt. Buy one that, instead of buying a Metallica t-shirt, toss your logo on a $4 t-shirt. Or maybe the place doesn't allow logos. Having a standardized color that you guys can wear on a day in, day out basis. Or, hey, hit us up at Go Career. We'll send you a whole buttload of t-shirts. It's all good. Like, just wearing something that's familiar and says, if it's going to say something, I agree with you, Daniel. If it's going to say something, it ought to say what you do.
Yeah, it separates you from everyone else, especially on a large project with multiple trades. There's got to be some kind of separation, right? I mean, if something goes wrong or something happens to an individual, being easily identified is to your benefit as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say another thing is, as a sub crew, how you keep your vehicle and your van or your truck, and how you keep your tools, all those say a lot about you. I know one of the guys I used to work with, when I had to, bluntly, back in the day, you know, he never had a trowel in his bucket that wasn't dirty. Either had patch caked on it and he'd scrape it off before he used it, or glue all over it and he'd pick it off before he got going. I mean, instead of taking the few minutes after he was done with, spreading his glue and tossing it in a bucket and wiping it off with the sponge and then putting it back in a clean bucket, or, cleaning the patch off his trowel, he just let it dry and then scrape it off with a 4-inch scraper afterwards. I won't lie, I did that too. When early on in my career, I learned quickly that wasn't the preferred method for me. But I think that stuff speaks volumes as well. If you tell you one thing, if you have a sub come to your guys' place there in Michigan looking to do work, and you just go out and look at their van, that's going to say a lot about them. Just go look at their vehicle, look at their install vehicle, look inside, look at their tools. That'll tell you a bunch about what that guy values. What is he clean? Is he a clean installer? Clean installers don't have dirty tools. I can tell you that. Like, if they're clean on the job site and they keep their stuff picked up and they spill a bag of patch, they sweep it up or whatever. Those guys that do those activities, they're not the ones who have dirty tools, nasty, dirty. I'm not saying the tools need to be looking crystal clean, but
no, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I mean, so they get new, so they don't have to look brand new every single day. But
yeah,
in our just in our meeting this morning, we had a talk about, tool upkeep. It's not one person's job in order to keep that tool up. It's everyone's job, because it's part of the appearance. If we're gonna have a bunch of broke down stuff, then why even have it? Like, it's, and you keep on, like, we keep on talking about appearance, and then some guys losing jobs and stuff, but some guys are just there for those jobs. I mean, and that's totally fine, because someone's got to do those jobs, right? Because it goes to those customers that are looking at the bottom dollar instead of the value that someone provides. And I would 100% rather just them take care of those people and me not have to worry about it.
Yeah, when you're talking about like people just shopping only on cost, and those being the crews that are willing to lower their their price to everybody, that's a whole nother episode, right? A whole nother episode about what are we going to do, and how do you separate yourself? In fact, a little ahead of schedule here, next week's Huddle is directly on that, is understanding your value and how to increase your prices. Well, this is number one right here. Easiest thing you can do. Present yourself as a true professional, be trained and skilled in your craft, and then charge more, right? And stick to your guns. Like, I think I may have told this story previously, but we had a customer, or a project that we had lost, a big job, about 70,000 feet of tile. I ran into to an installer at a local IMSR, and I was like, hey, what are you up to? And, just kind of chatting it up. And he used to work for us years ago. And he said, oh, I'm doing this big, medical, like office building, about 60,000 feet, man. But the chick, she's really cheap, dude. And I was like, well, what are you doing it for? He's like, $2 a foot. Tile, 24 by 24.
Large format, huh?
Large format. I was blown away. I was like, we haven't, I don't ever remember paying $2 a foot for tile install. Those types of people, those people who do that are, unfortunately, I don't have really great things to say, so I won't say much. It just, I really believe they put dents in our industry. They cause other people's, you just can't make a living wage. Okay, maybe in one cafeteria that's 80 by 60, you'll make some money. But what about down the halls and then all the door cuts and just all this other stuff, man? Normal jobs just aren't that big, and that maybe it was wide open or something. But even in that case, you're doing the work. Understanding where you bring value and how you bring value to the process, and not just going as low as you can to get the work is, like I said, we'll address that in next week's episode. But I do believe image is the easiest way to at least start to separate yourself as caring about your product, what you're going to give that customer. I mean, there's a lot of research out there that says how you dress or how you care about you is what you're going to give to your client. And, seems to be a little bit true.
Yeah, it's directly, the way we're talking about the pricing and all that, how you present yourself is directly proportionate in most cases to how they perceive you and how much they're actually willing to pay. So you're only cutting yourself short if you are that guy, which, like I said, some guys just want to do that, and that's totally fine. But we're trying to lift this industry, so if we can do that one person at a time, if one person hears this and that they make that jump to go get a shirt. And I mean, a lot of people think that it's super expensive. I mean, if you don't have a logo, there's apps out there. You can go on Fiverr, have someone create you a logo. They'll give you a few mock-ups. You choose one, you take that logo to your local screen print shop, and they'll create a screen for it. I mean, it is a one-time charge that they do for the artwork and having to create all that stuff. But once you pay that, you can order more and you don't have to pay that charge again. So it's an upfront cost, but it's worth it, because I mean, our shirts, we don't pay much for them. They're a different material, right? So it's a dry fit material that wicks moisture away, because we're always sweating, right? So we want to so we don't really like the cotton too much. But I mean, it's like $5 or $6 a shirt, and then $1.50 to put the logo on it. It's really not much.
Yeah, so for under $10, you can have, why is there feedback? For under $10, you can have a t-shirt with your logo on it. I mean, I think the setup fee is like $150.
Yeah, it's not much.
It's not much money.
The same thing. You're a small company, and then if you go with another small company that's trying to build a name as well, they'll probably even give you a better deal. Like, hey, just tell people about me and stuff like that. It doesn't even have to be a small company. We went with the first time we don't want to talk about because we didn't do it right. But after we actually started going to a screen print company, we went to one of the bigger ones in town, and that's when we realized, man, we were paying this other guy that was doing it, on his own, this much per shirt, when we can only be paying this much. And that's when you kind of realize, like, man, it's a lot more manageable than people put it out to be.
Well, and that's I think a good thing to note is that go with the larger guy. The larger guy in your area, typically they're larger because they do the most, and they have the most buying power on the shirts, and they can, you're going to be cheaper. We use the biggest in our area, and we pay $8 a shirt, logoed in and out of the door for 3 different colors. And, you maybe pay $10 because you don't buy them, say a smaller company. But at the end of the day, man, $10, you're not going to buy a shirt for $10 at Walmart, or you might in a package of white tees or something. But
right.
So this is pretty easy low hanging fruit for somebody to do that. And then like on your vehicle, if you want to look presentable there, I've literally seen guys just put professional flooring installer. They're not CFI, not the CFI logo or nothing, just professional flooring installer. They got a magnet and put it on the side of their truck, no logo or nothing, and it feels better than their truck by itself when they pull up to a job site, right? So if you want to put your logo on one of those magnets, they're $100 a piece. Toss them on your vehicle, take them off. If it's a personal vehicle that you, like I did in the early days, crossover from family vehicle to work vehicle, pull them on and off and you're good. I don't want this to seem elementary because it's actually way more important than it is hard. That's the purpose. That's why I wanted to have this talk. Like the importance of caring about this stuff is way more, is so much higher than how hard it is to do it. It's simple. Get a shirt you like, whether it's a polo or a t-shirt. Even if you initially start the way you guys were talking, it wasn't the right way, at least it's a step in the right direction. I would recommend go see, a big screen printer in your area, tell them you're going to buy, 10 shirts at a time or something like that and see what their cost is. And then later when you get, a few helpers or something, you're buying 20 or 30 shirts at a time, your costs will go down. But these practices are simple. And then you talk about the way you visually present yourself and then how you act. That's a whole nother deal. But if those two match up, you're going to be a lot more successful than the guy that just refuses. Because the only reason I can see with the information out there that somebody would not put on a decent set of clothing is because they don't care. Right? Yeah. They don't care. Logo or not, like put on a decent shirt, some jeans and work boots and look the part. If you don't care, that's exactly what you're telling your client. That's exactly what you're telling a company like my flooring company when you come in to try to get work from me. That
was me. That was me when I started. I'm not going to lie, because I didn't care. I didn't understand the importance of it. I didn't understand the benefit of it. I really honestly didn't care.
Well, if we help one or two people that are listening to this call get further than where you were at, where you're like, I didn't care. I don't care because I didn't know the importance, to really realize the importance. Just so everybody knows, like, you guys own a flooring company. You guys hire installers. Your opinion matters in this. I own a flooring company. I hire installers. I'm telling you, this stuff matters, guys. So take note of what these guys are saying. Simply wear decent clothing, but go, if you can swing a few $100 to go get your logo put on a shirt, do it. Have some pride in what you're building.
Absolutely. And then to touch on what you were talking about, as far as, the way you sound and stuff, you do essentially have to create a customer service voice, is what everyone calls it, right? Because you got to kind of become a different person that everyone can relate to. And it's happened here in the office when I'm on the phone and then someone that's not usually here, hears me talk on the phone and they're like, man, you sound really good. You got a really good customer service voice. And it's like, you kind of have to have that. You have to know what the customer wants and then play off of that. And they don't want to hear your everyday slang and all that stuff that you usually talk about. And you kind of the same way when you take the magnet on, put the magnet on the car and take it off, you have to be able to turn that on and off and know when to use it.
Another interesting aspect. I had sorry, I'm getting feedback, so it's a little distracting. But I had a client say that, or not a client, I was listening to a audiobook, and it's about customer service and branding and all that. And it talked about putting on your hero uniform for the day. It was talking about, like, all the heroes, all the Batman, Superman, everybody had a uniform. And it's like transforming yourself from your daily who you are into your what you're presenting when you're at work. And let's face it, like you can't just, be homies with everybody when you're talking to clients and business people. I mean, you guys and I hung out. You can't just, throw all that type of language and, the way you are in your personal life. You keep a piece of that, but you have to, like you said, have a customer service facing attitude. So how you present yourself I guess what I was getting at there is when you put on that uniform, if you can visualize, like that's when you need to switch that over too. When you're representing that brand or yourself, consider changing the way that you go about talking to your clients and whether you work for a store or you work directly and you go out and drum up your own business in the retail market, or maybe you do a little bit of work for GCs here and there. Any of those scenarios, you're still presenting yourself, and I think that it goes a long way if you can do it in a professional manner.
It does too, and it's also like a muscle, right? Like that you have to have your customer service voice, and versus who you are at home, your everyday. But it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the easier it becomes, and you start finding that it does start to transfer over because you're becoming who you really should be anyway. You start those practices for work, and then all of a sudden it transfers to home. You're a little bit cleaner vocabulary around the kids growing up, cleaner vocabulary around people you might not know who are in a restaurant while you're out with your family and friends. You start realizing that it becomes a lot easier to articulate yourself and just be professional all the time. Somebody's always watching, somebody's always listening. You don't want to say or do the wrong thing in front of the wrong people, as well as that also puts a strain on your business and your persona.
Well, you realize real quick that perception is a big thing. How people perceive you is important. Having where I'm not saying you can't be yourself. I'm just saying be the best version of yourself.
There you go. That's well put.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me today. Again, trying to keep these between 30 to 45 minutes, trying to keep them hitting hard and provide as much value as possible to people. And hopefully, as like I said, if we help one or two guys take a step or two ahead, then the goal is accomplished. So again, next week, we're going to be talking about understanding your value and how to increase your prices. What I want to come with some practical steps on how I pay different installers higher prices than others, and how can you be in that higher group? How does that work? I'm sure you guys do it. I've talked to hundreds of flooring business owners, and the fact is some guys make more money. And why is that? And how can you join that group if you're not? And if you're in that group, how can you increase your prices even more? Because at the end of the day here, we have a little bit of ways to go before we are where I would say, to even match inflation at this point. So how can we help these guys and gals out there installing, working their tails off, make sure they're getting full value for what they're providing? Let's come with it hard next week with some good ideas on how to help the installer make more money.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, brothers.
Have a good one.
Signing off. We'll talk to you next week.
Off the baseball.
Thanks, everybody.